You know, it's the one question that has fascinated and honestly probably terrified humanity forever. It's something that connects every single one of us, no matter who you are or where you're from. So, okay, let's just dive right into this ultimate mystery. What really happens when we die? So let's start right there. Just take a second and think about it for yourself. What's your gut feeling on this? Do you imagine an afterlife? Maybe reincarnation? Or do you think it's just lights out? This isn't just some abstract thought experiment, right? This is a question that gets to the very core of what it means to be human. Now, you'd think that with all our modern science, belief in an afterlife might be fading away. But, well, the numbers tell a totally different story. A survey in the UK found that 60% of people believe some part of us keeps going after death. And get this, in the US, a poll showed that a whopping 72% believe in heaven. So clearly, all our scientific knowledge hasn't gotten rid of our hope or our faith that there's something more. So, let's quickly talk about what those beliefs actually look like. Because for thousands of years, cultures all over the world have been trying to draw a map of this big unknown. A really common idea, one you see almost everywhere, is this framework of cosmic justice. The basic thought is that what we do in this life matters in the next one. Heaven is painted as this perfect paradise, a place of total bliss for people who were good. And hell, well, that's the place of eternal punishment for the wicked. It's a really powerful idea, this concept of ultimate accountability. But now, let's make a hard pivot. We're going to switch gears completely, from belief in faith to the cold, hard, observable facts. What does science have to say about that moment our life actually ends? From a purely biological point of view, the definition is pretty cut and dry. Death happens when the heart stops pumping blood, and this is the really crucial part. All the electrical activity in the brain just stops. It's like a cascade of systems shutting down, and the brain is the final one to go. Okay, but it's really important to understand that there's a huge difference here. First, you have what's called clinical death. That's when your heart stops. It's kind of like the power going out in your house. Everything's dark, but if you can get the power back on fast enough, everything flickers back to life. You've got a tiny window, maybe 4 to 6 minutes. But after that, biological death starts to set in. That's brain death. And that damage is irreversible. The house isn't just dark anymore, the wiring is fried. That is the true point of no return. So, what's happening to the body right after that final moment? Well, the processes that kick in are predictable, they're methodical, and honestly, they're pretty incredible. 3 main things happen almost right away. First up is algor mortis, which is when the body can't regulate its own temperature anymore, and it starts to cool down. Then you've got livor mortis. This is where gravity takes over and pulls the blood down to the lowest parts of the body, which causes that purplish color. And finally, within a couple of hours, rigor mortis begins. That's when calcium rushes into the muscle cells, making them all contract and stiffen up. And beyond those 3 big stages, the body can do some pretty unsettling things. Air getting pushed out of the lungs can actually make groaning sounds, and nerve pathways can still fire off, causing little twitches. And as all the muscles totally relax, the body might evacuate any waste that's left. There's even this super rare thing called coffin birth, where built-up gases can actually expel a fetus. It sounds strange, but it's all just biology doing its thing. All right, so after those first few hours, the body starts a much, much longer process. It begins to break down and basically return all of its components back to the earth. We call this journey decomposition. This whole thing unfolds over a really long time. I mean, within just a few hours, the bacteria that live inside all of us start breaking the body down from the inside out. That's called putrefaction. Over the next few weeks, the soft tissues start to liquefy. After about a month, you're pretty much left with things like cartilage, bone, and hair. It can take anywhere from 8 to 12 years for just the skeleton to be left, and after 50 years or so, even the bones will eventually turn to dust. And that process of putrefaction, well, it also creates an incredibly powerful smell. This quote from our source material really doesn't pull any punches. It's a pretty intense reminder that decomposition is a visceral, powerful, and totally natural process. So we've covered the biology. We know in detail exactly what happens to our physical bodies. And yet, that original question is still just hanging there in the air. What, if anything, happens to our consciousness, to the person who was inside that body? This is where we get back to personal experience, and man, the accounts could not be more different. Some people who've been clinically dead and then brought back, like this person on Reddit, say they experienced absolutely nothing, just a void, the simple absence of being. But then you have this, a completely different story, and one you've probably heard of. The whole experience of moving towards a bright light, a feeling of incredible peace, a sense that something profound is waiting for you. So, how can both of these be true? I mean, science might point to things like the brain being under extreme stress, or a flood of chemicals, or a lack of oxygen. But for the people who go through it, the feeling is completely real. It's amazing that two people can stand at the exact same brink and come back with such wildly different stories. The bottom line is, we just don't know. And that uncertainty has led to some really mind-bending philosophical ideas. You've got Nietzsche, for instance, who came up with this idea of eternal recurrence, the staggering thought that you're destined to live this exact same life, with all its good parts and bad parts, over and over again forever. And on the flip side, you have an idea like Buddhist reincarnation, the belief that our consciousness gets reborn into a new life, continuing in a cycle of learning until you finally get it right. And this brings us right back to the central conflict, doesn't it? Are we spiritual beings heading for some kind of paradise? Or are we biological machines whose final purpose is just to become part of the ecosystem? It's belief versus biology, the soul versus the soil. In the end, nobody can give you the answer. The afterlife is still the great unknown. But if this whole exploration shows us anything, it's how incredibly valuable the one thing we can be sure of is this life, the one we're living right here, right now. So, with the time you have, how are you going to choose to live it?